I have a 2013 Toyota Camry with 204,000 miles on it, and it's at the shop right now. The initial repair estimate was $1,500, and when I explained this to my coworkers and friends, I was shocked by how many people told me, well, maybe it's time to get a new car. Not only would I acquire at least $22,000 in debt, I would also miss out on $11,000 of investing. Today I'm going to talk about some general car statistics, what to consider before buying a car, and what I was thinking through when deciding to repair the car or get a new one, how I calculated an estimate for a monthly payment, and how to make decisions in the context of your bigger financial life. If you're new here, my name is Alexa, I'm 25, I live in Missouri, I didn't grow up with money or really knowing about money, but I'm doing my best to learn, and I'm bringing all of you with me. Let's talk about some car statistics. So the average cost of a car loan in 2025 is $41,000, and the most popular vehicle right now is an F-150. And I just have one question. If you have an F-150, what are you hauling? Please drop in the comments, what are you hauling? Because I would love to know. When I look in the back of the beds, I don't see very much. I see a strap or two, but like, what are you hauling? So the average length of a car loan is 68 months, so over 5 years, but less than 6 years. And the average payment for a new car is $745 a month and $521 for a used car. The interest rates on these loans offered to consumers are based on your credit card score, and I do a video about that. I was honestly having a hard time finding any statistics, but I think this is because it's all survey based. We are at an all-time high in the US for people being behind on their car payments. And I think a lot of this has to do with a lack of financial education. Things are just getting more expensive. Inflation is a thing. The cost of living is getting higher without wages really matching that increase. And the middle class is kind of decreasing. So the wealthiest people in the country hold upwards of 95% of the nation's wealth. So I think it makes sense that there's such a gap in what people are able to do. All of that to say is that it's getting a lot more polarized in the US, whether you have wealth or you don't. And I think if you're not understanding that reality and that there is a really big jump to being able to have like a certain amount of things, you are going to be stuck and you're going to be at a place where you're spending above your means and you're not going to be able to get yourself into a financially healthy situation anytime soon. Don't acquire debt if you don't have to. And when you do, try to acquire the least amount of debt that you can at the lowest interest rate that you possibly can. Do your research and shop around. So here are some things to consider before you're buying a new car. How much can you put down with your current finances? What is your vehicle's trade-in value? When did you initially have it in your mind to upgrade your car? What would the interest rate be? And how long is the loan term? How much can you put down right now? What just happened to me is my car stalled out at an intersection, wouldn't go forward. I was slightly at an incline. The car was in drive, but it was going backwards when I was trying to go forwards, which is not good. And right in front of me was a highway, and this was actually the second time it had stalled out that day, but the first time I was pulling into a parking lot, so I turned the car off, turned it back on, and then the lights that were on the dash had disappeared, so I was like, okay, great. It was just a glitch. And then I went to AutoZone after work to try and see if they could check the codes for me. I don't know that much about cars. My mom runs a mechanic shop, so I usually just call her and talk to her boss for questions. When all the lights came on, I couldn't even tell you what the lights were. I just know that one of them was a check engine light. One of them had like a little steering wheel with an exclamation point. You know, I thought when I turned the car off that it was fine, and then I turned it back on and I started driving to AutoZone and nothing happened, but I was smelling gas. My car also was getting hot. Like, it was a hot day, it was in the 90s, but usually the car gets cooler as you drive, not hotter. I get to AutoZone, none of the lights are on. They say that they can't run any codes because the lights are off. I'm driving home at this point, and then my car does the backwards driving thing when it's supposed to be going forward. So I called roadside assistance. My car insurance has a free tow. I take it to Toyota and I tell them what's going on with my car. They were pretty sure that the gas canister and purge vacuum valve needed to be replaced. To me, not an engine, I can probably pay to fix it. So they were saying, oh yeah, these are pretty expensive parts. And I said, well, how expensive is it? And they said about $1,500. And luckily I have a car maintenance fund. So because my car is old and it has over 200,000 miles on it, realistically, I know that something is probably going to come up and it's probably going to be over $1,000 to fix. So I have $1,500 in a savings account for maintenance on my car because I was anticipating something like this happening. I also know that in the near future, I will need a new car, so a car down payment sinking fund. However, I'm not taking that fund super seriously because nothing has really been wrong with my car. That has been on the back burner, but after this situation, it's going to now be at the forefront after the holidays. I have $1,500 in that account. So if I didn't want to save my car, I would have at least $3,000 right there. Like, let's just say I did pay for the car to be fixed and in 2 months the car breaks down and I'm at a crossroads again. I would still only have $1,500 for a car down payment, I am willing to part ways with $1,500 in my emergency fund. I have somewhere in between 3 and 6 months in my emergency fund. I'm trying to build it up to 6 months right now. I wouldn't be willing to do more. So I would just be in an unfortunate situation. How much can you put down? For me, that would be $3,000. The next car that I want is a RAV4. I like Toyota. I think that they're pretty reliable cars, and I do want a larger vehicle so that I can have it when I start having kids. The car seats will fit in it comfortably. That's the car that I'm going to be using for the rest of this example. I also would prefer if the car had 50,000 miles, but you know, depending on my financial situation, we might need to back down on that part. I found a RAV4 on the Toyota website in Houston because that's likely where I would pick it up. The car prices are a little bit cheaper in Texas, and it'd be an excuse to visit my family, so I don't really care. So on their car catalog, they had a 2024 RAV4 that was used with 31,000 miles on it. Like I said before, I have $1,500 in my down payment car sinking fund. My goal is to have $20,000 in that sinking fund because a RAV4 is somewhere between $26,000 and $35,000 depending on if you get used well or brand new. I would like to have $20,000 to have most of a used car paid for. I put all of my savings into my high yield savings account at Sofi. I really like their high yield savings account vaults. I have about 10 of them. Let me know if you want me to make a video about how I organize my money and what I have sinking funds in and how much is in them. I have a link in the description for a Sofi checking account and savings account offer if you want to check them out. It is not sponsored. I just really like the banking platform. What is your vehicle's trade-in value? I used the trade-in calculator on the Toyota website, did it with my bank, and then I used Kelley Blue Book. So I got 3 different sources of how much my car would be valued at. And it was really lying between $5,000 and $6,000. So we're going to be conservative and say it's worth about $5,000 here. And being conservative just means working towards your worst case scenario. Like, why would I estimate $6,000 when there's a potential that I might have to cough up an extra $1,000? I'd rather save $1,000 than have to come up with an extra $1,000. When did you initially have it in your mind to upgrade your car? Don't let people peer pressure you into buying a car. It's not an easy decision. It's a $30,000 decision at least, okay? And then if you want an F-150, that's a $50,000 decision. For me, with my car being in the shop and people telling me, you should probably get a new car already. With my car being worth $5,000 and me having $3,000 to put down, that is $8,000 total that I have to put towards a car, which actually isn't a lot because the RAV4 that I was looking at is valued at $26,000 right now. You know, before you go any further into this video on things that I thought through on when to buy a new car so you can estimate what your financial situation is going to be, when did you have in mind to get a new car? If nothing happened to your car, when would you want to get a new one? Or when could you afford to get a new one? I think is the better question. I said earlier that I was wanting $20,000 in my sinking fund. That's probably not going to happen for another 3 to 4 years. And that's if I prioritize it above all other savings. I would rather wait the 3 years and have like a little bit worse off of a car so that I'm not putting down all of the money that is necessary to save up for this car. I probably will get at least $1,000 from the bank once I've put in $20,000. So you're getting not a lot of money back, but some money is helping you. But I would rather have interest working for me until I get to the point where I want to get a new car instead of it working against me in the present. Getting a new car right now would derail my financial goals and investment goals. So don't get pressured into buying a new car just because someone told you to. What would the interest rate on your auto loan be? I did a very quick financing simulation on Toyota's website, and the best deal I could get was 7.99%, which is terrible. That interest rate outpaces my investment gains. So that means I really wouldn't advise myself to invest. I would be putting all my extra money towards that high interest debt because the interest would be growing so rapidly. How long is the loan term? At the 7.99% interest, which was the best rate Toyota offered online, was for a 40-month term. I'd be more comfortable with a 36-month term because you're not tied to interest growing for so long. For me, the interest rate and the loan term are already red flags that deter me away from this situation. How did I calculate the monthly payment? I really just used the Toyota website and then the third-party website to figure these things out. But with a down payment of $3,000, a trade-in value of $5,000, a loan term of 48 months at a 7.99% interest rate, Toyota quoted me $499 a month. The auto loan calculator from LendingTree quoted me $534 a month. The total interest on the loan would be $3,775. So the total cost of the vehicle goes from $26,587 to $30,362. I feel like any online auto loan calculator you use will be good enough for this situation. How does this decision fit into your finances? A lot of people think about the monthly payment and they don't think beyond that. One of my coworkers said to me, you know that this job pays you enough for you to be able to afford a new car, right? If we think about the monthly payment, I guess that statement is true. I don't like the question, can I afford it? Because let's take a really dumb example and extend it out to this situation. If a cookie costs you $5 and you've got $6 in your wallet, you ask yourself, can I afford this cookie? You look in your wallet, it costs $5, I have $6. Yes, I can afford this cookie. Here you go, I would like my cookie now. Well, what if you needed $5 to pay for transportation home? And now you don't have that and now you have to walk home. Now you realize that buying the cookie made you suffer somewhere else, and while you temporarily had a cookie, now you don't have a bus pass for a week and you have to walk every day and you have to make time for that. I will be the first to say that I don't live a frugal lifestyle. I live in a very nice apartment. I live close to downtown. I live at the highest end of rent that I would think is acceptable for somebody to pay for their income. And I also don't have a roommate. I buy a lot of my groceries from Sprouts, and I have a dog that I pay for. There are a lot of ways in which my lifestyle is inflated. So don't let me convince you that I am always doing the most financially sound thing. Adding a car payment though is not smart. I think it's okay to splurge in some areas of your life, but if you're splurging in all of them, that's whenever you start to get into this dangerous territory of living beyond your means overall. I guess I could still afford this $534 payment per month, but it would have to come from somewhere. Like, where's the money going to come from? Right now, it would have to come from my savings and investment goals, because that is extra money. It's not going towards things I have to pay, like my rent and my transportation costs and my pet and my bills. So then automatically I wouldn't be hitting my goal of investing $100,000 by 28. I wouldn't be able to go on trips next year. I'd have to cancel my Europe trip with my family in the spring. And I would miss out on so many investment gains over the next 4 years of this loan term. Currently, I save $600 a month. I invest $783 a month. And I have a goal to invest $883 a month total. So I'm supposed to come up with an extra $100 that I don't currently have without working a side hustle or saving money in other areas. I would likely have to subtract $200 from my brokerage account and $300 a month from my savings in order to then afford this car payment. I use NerdWallet's investment calculator to figure out how much I'd be losing out on if I took $200 away from my investment strategy. I would have had at least $11,000 investing $200 a month in something with a 6% annual return rate. So zooming out, I would have spent $25,700 on the car. That's the cost of the car after the down payment and the trade-in value plus the interest, instead of $22,000. And I would not have at least $11,000 in an investment account. If I currently had $20,000 in my sinking fund with a trade-in value of $5,000, the loan wouldn't even be $2,000. And in 3 years, my car isn't gonna be worth $5,000, let's be honest. It's probably gonna be closer to zero. So even if I had $20,000 in 3 years and my car was worth nothing, the loan would still be less than $7,000, which is a lot more manageable. So please zoom out, run the numbers, and don't be peer pressured. You're smart, you're capable. And if you truly think you're not smart, like, you can also just ask ChatGPT. And actually, just for fun, I actually asked ChatGPT a similar question just to see what it thought. I put in all the basic things like the cost of the car, the trade-in value, the down payment, the interest rate, and the loan term that Toyota offered. I asked ChatGPT what it thought a better financial decision was, to keep my car or to get a new one. It was giving me very partisan answers like, oh, you could do this or you could do this. And I said, I know I can do this or do this. I want you to tell me what to do. So I had to be a little bit more aggressive with it. And then it said like, oh, you could keep the car if you can afford $1,500 in maintenance every year. And I was like, ChatGPT, $1,500 in maintenance every year is still way less than I would be paying towards a brand new car every year. So like, what are you saying? I don't know. It was just silly to me. Maybe it was saying like, oh, well, you can afford $500 a month, but you can't afford $1,500 at once. Well, if you just saved $500 a month, then you could afford $1,500 at once. So you can't listen to everything ChatGPT says. Like, let's use our brains a little bit. So after I was being a little bit more aggressive with it, it still thought that keeping my car was the better decision, which I was like, okay, great. That's what I thought. It did ask me an interesting question that I hadn't thought of, which was, would you like me to calculate the break-even point on which the amount of money you're putting into the car for maintenance is equaling the amount of money you would have put towards a new car. ChatGPT told me that if I spent more than $4,000 a year on car maintenance, then I'd be breaking even. And that didn't really make sense to me because at $500 a month, I'd be spending $6,000 a year. So I'm not really sure where it's getting the $4,000 from. I think it was also subtracting the net worth of the RAV4 from the amount that you're putting into it, so you'd be acquiring assets while paying down debt at the same time. I don't really know. I don't like that calculation. So let's just say $6,000. If I'm spending $6,000 on my car, I think I'd be having a different conversation with myself about what to do with the car, but it was a $1,500 repair. Just as a disclaimer, I don't need a RAV4. If I'm being honest with myself, if my car was totaled tomorrow and I had to get a new vehicle right now, I'd probably get another small sedan that's under $10,000, and I would put down as much as I could, if not pay for it outright with my emergency fund, and then just deal with building up my emergency fund again. I would give up on my SUV dream because that would make more financial sense for me. But because I don't need to make that decision right now, and because I'm not ready to make that decision right now, I'm using my ideal car situation to make these decisions. Let's recap. There are 5 questions that you should be asking yourself before you decide to buy a new car. How much can you put down with your current finances? What's the trade-in value of your current vehicle? When did you initially have it in your mind to upgrade your car? What would the interest rate on your loan be, and what would the length of the loan term be? You can play around with different car models and loan terms and interest rates on the dealer websites if you want. That's exactly what I did. And you can get a real idea of what you'd be walking into. At least a starting point. And again, this is a more conservative approach because when you go to the dealer, they're likely to give you a deal if you negotiate with them. Using online loan calculators will also help you figure out what your monthly payment is going to be. Obviously, having a sinking fund for maintenance and a car down payment is going to be really helpful, so try to keep in mind to set aside money for that every month if you're not currently and your car is over 100,000 miles. If you really don't want to have to think about this stuff, you can just put in all the numbers into ChatGPT and it'll give you somewhat of a reasonable response. Just proof it. Just make sure that it's making sense. Lastly, don't let people peer pressure you into making financial decisions that you're not ready for. Remember to zoom out. With that, please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see me grow on my path to financial health. Drop any more topics that you'd like to know about. I'd love to learn. Let me know what your thoughts are on the auto industry, on auto loans. Do you have any lessons that you learned from leasing a car, buying a car, selling a car, getting a used car, getting a brand new car, things you wish that your younger self would have known, questions you have, maybe somebody else has the answer that I don't. Any experiences really you guys have had with cars, because I am 25, I don't have very many. Like the car that I have was given to me by my mother. So with that, I hope you have a lovely day and I will see you in the next one.